Good morning. Hope you were enjoying day 2. Did everyone have a great time last night? It's wonderful, I think, when Microsoft comes to Las Vegas that we can bring Seattle weather with us. So if you've not been to the Pacific Northwest and you wonder what it's like to be surrounded by hundreds of engineers in cool, rainy weather, you got to have your fill of it. Hopefully it holds off a little bit for tonight. My name is Chris McNulty. I'm a senior product manager on the Microsoft 365 team.
I'm Chakkaradeep. People know me as CHaks. I'm one of the program managers in SharePoint Experiences team working on transforming business processes.
So today we're going to be talking at a high level about what we have available to be able to create business apps across M365. What are the tools that we have surrounding SharePoint and the rest of Office 365? What are some of the newest things that we've brought out and what's coming up, and how you can use them as a guide to be able to solve some of the challenges, along with some real-world examples we want to take a look at. So when we think about the business mission for SharePoint, most of these concepts should be familiar to you around what we're doing with file sharing and being able to do knowledge sharing and discovery based on foundations of security and extensibility. It's this second pillar about how do we share data and how do we streamline the way business process works across the enterprise that we think we have a real opportunity to spotlight what SharePoint's unique capabilities are in this space. When we think about SharePoint, there are sessions you'll hear this week. There were presentations we made on this stage yesterday during the keynote about using SharePoint as a first-party tool for being able to drive things like employee engagement. But it's really important to go back and focus on the fact that SharePoint is the engine that powers all of these capabilities throughout Office 365. So whether you're coming at this information through Outlook, through Teams, through PowerApps and Flow, it are SharePoint lists and libraries on the back end that provide the core repository and interfaces that allow us to be able to construct the business process solutions along with the rest of the capabilities in the suite. When we think about what is the mission for an intelligent intranet powered by Microsoft 365, we see SharePoint at the center of that and being able to provide the engine that connects things like shared content and business solutions. How do we take not just the rich collaboration tools that we have across the suite, but how do we use it in a way that changes the way work gets done? We've talked a lot about digital transformation over the past couple of years. Today's no exception. But what's really important, and what we hope you all take away from today's session, is exposure to what we've been doing to innovate across this, and being able to bring this back to your customers, whether they're internal or external, in a way that helps you unlock some of the powers of this platform to solve a problem that you're not being able to solve today. These tools are here for everyone. These are not capabilities that we think need to be reserved to professional developers, but they're things that we think should be widely distributed to be able to unlock business applications. So this is the menu of what we're talking about today. In being able to solve business process, these are the core capabilities that we have. First and foremost, how do we aggregate information into SharePoint using lists and libraries as managed, scalable, rich repositories of information? Second, how can we integrate what we know about our business processes with over 200 apps and services across Office 365 with our connector framework? How can I automate processes around that with Microsoft Flow? How can I build interfaces with low-code or no-code that live in SharePoint or on mobile devices or wherever I need to extend them using PowerApps? And then finally, how am I able to take all of those capabilities to the next level by being able to bring in tools like AI and Power BI and cognitive services?
And being part of the Microsoft 365 platform gives you the flexible solutions for everybody, right? So whether it's being the one end of the spectrum where pro developers get all of the platform capabilities that gets released in Azure, in Office 365, whether you're using Graph or SharePoint Framework or any other Azure services to build your solutions. And then it moves on to Microsoft taking those and building tools and whatnot to make the business users build business applications really fast. So you see us doing investments in Flow, PowerApps, and even out-of-the-box experiences in SharePoint that enables or consumes those platform capabilities to bring those to business users to build applications fast. And at the end of the day, the winners are the authors who go to the site and try to create a site for their project or for their team. So that's how you can see us helping pro devs, makers, and authors to get the solutions built in Microsoft 365 platform. Now, that's all great. It's a lot of marketing content. Let's see something in action. Would you like to see something in action? Yeah? Excellent. So I'm going to switch to my computer. So here's a list of drones. I'm doing some research project, and I'm maintaining a list with all of the research projects I have. And I've already customized this list with, say, a new custom form, so I can have some custom ways to enter data. Like, for example, if I search for a person, rather than just getting something, I can also have a person picture added besides the name as well. And if you see, the display form, it's pretty customized here as well. And if I try to edit, you can see that I can edit most of the fields, but I'm kind of limited in modifying the project effort in days, because it says that I will need to request for an effort increase, right? So when I add a new project, I'm able to put an initial effort. But as soon as I put that, a budget is triggered and everything is set, so I don't want to just go and change from, say, 100 days to 300 days and request $1 million budget, right? So the way that the process here is that if I have to do something, I have to request for an increase. Pretty common scenario. So let's go. I have a barbecue drone. Sounds interesting. Effort is just 40 days. Wow. A barbecue drone just takes a 40 days effort. So I can go now to Flow.
What is the barbecue drone exactly?
It's a business process. Let's not bring that
Okay.
into this talk. So right now, I'm going to say, I have a few flows here. We'll see through the talk the different flows here. But I'm going to click on Request Effort Increase. As soon as I do this, I'm going to see a flow here. And that flow is going to ask me, what is the effort increase you're looking for? Please enter in days. So pretty good. I'm going to say 5. Reason, summer is still here. Project requirements changed. And I'm going to run the flow. So what is going to happen is, as soon as I run this flow, it's going to pick the owner of this research project, who here is Pradeep Gupta, and send an approval in Teams. So I'm going to switch to my phone here. And you can see I already have a card sent by Flow to Pradeep. And if I click this card, you can see I have the approval right in Teams here. And I don't even have to go to any web. I'm in my Teams because I always communicate with my team. I'm going to click Approve. I'm going to submit. It's going to submit in a few seconds. There you go. It's submitted. I'm going to switch to my computer. I'm going to soon get a notification here in my Teams for this user who actually initiated this request approval.
And so
there you go.
And so we've been able to do things in email before, but
yep. Now you can take it to whatever the platform your users are in, right? So if your users are in Teams and something where you carry it in mobile, and it's much easier because we turn off email notifications because we get like 1,000 emails a day, right?
Right.
But Teams is like something I would keep in touch with my team, so I need to get the important things done. So now I upload in Teams, and you can see I already got a message posted to the research projects channel over here, right? That Nestor, your request to increase the effort, was approved by Pradeep Gupta. Now, how cool is that? Everything started in SharePoint, went through the teams, got approved, and now the project team is notified that the request increase is approved. And of course, if I go back here and refresh this page, you should see 40 to 45 days. So that's how you can easily now bring approvals and take it to the place where you are from SharePoint and get things done.
So approvals are not new, but being able to wire up adaptive cards and being able to integrate them directly into Microsoft Teams is one of the new capabilities that we've just started releasing and wanted to spotlight for you.
Yep. So now we'll switch to...
We're done?
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, CHaks. I think we're in the wrong place. We are in the wrong place. OK. So what CHaks highlighted there was based on the power of SharePoint lists. SharePoint lists are one of the most fundamental elements in SharePoint and Office 365. You can store up to 30 million items in a list. And with the predictive indexing capabilities that we've rolled out in the last couple of years, you're really able to tap into that full capacity. Why do we bring information in from lists? As we showed in the keynote yesterday, we've made it easier than ever for you to be able to bring information in, to be able to take advantage of things like full-text search, filtering and adding security to individual rows inside of a list, being able to use custom formatters or SharePoint framework to extend what the user experience is of information inside of a list. As other people are working on data in a collaborative teamwork environment, everyone else is going to be able to participate in the live experience of what's going on in a list. And your list data is easily extended into other parts of SharePoint with the web part or into Teams. So list creation is something that is essential in most organizations. An awful lot of business data begins life in lists. We only have an hour today, so I'm not going to repeat what Caruana delivered here on the stage yesterday morning. But we have the ability to let you reach out to any business data that lives inside of Excel today, being able to tap into it and bring it in to create a new list. And when you bring that information in, you have the option of mapping it to new data types to be able to change text values into choice values or exclude or remap number values as you need to be. You also can build lists from other lists. And when I'm copying the structure of an existing list in my organization, I'm able to pick up things like formatting and being able to look at all of the views that have been built, so I can bring that entire templated structure over to be able to create a new experience. We've made it very easy for you to add lists inside Teams. So through the SharePoint connector inside Teams, when I want to add a tab to any Teams channel, I can browse not just for pages, but for lists. I don't have to look up URLs to cut and paste. I can pick up a particular list, drop it in. This is essential about being able to unlock the power of Teams, to be able to reach across multiple user experiences, especially for first-line mobile workers. Being able to take those list experiences and deliver them wherever I need to get them inside SharePoint or Teams in one move. We're doing a little panorama?
Yeah.
Excellent. So one of the other things that we've really invested a lot over the past year, and we're going to show you some new capabilities here in just a minute, is conditional formatting. Being able to build quick formats that I'm able to apply to columns or to rows in my list without having to write code. About a year and a half ago, we introduced the ability to let you introduce JSON scripting as a way of really rewriting that experience in a supportable fashion. There's a great repository that we have available on GitHub. Chris Kent and a number of our other MVPs contribute to that on an ongoing basis. So if there's custom formats that you want to apply through script, that's a pattern that we support. But we're making it easier than ever for you to be able to add that kind of rich formatting in line without having to resort to even cutting and pasting those scripts, which we'll show you.
I think that was a very good example of how the platform starts doing it initially with, it's a pretty rough JSON way of representing what you want to do. But later, the product is taking advantage of that, and now we are able to build these awesome UX for everyone to use it.
Yep. So a lot that we have and a lot that will be coming soon. This is also a what's coming session. So in no particular order, up on screen, some of the things that we have, I'll show you one of these in just a bit, is being able to create quick list forms that allow me to show particular columns or hide particular columns. We're going to be expanding the data dictionary. Earlier, we've added location columns. We'll be adding native image and URL capabilities directly to lists and libraries. Rather than just having a pointer to information that lives elsewhere, we think that's the next frontier we have for being able to extend what you can do inside of a list. Quick Edit is another capability that we showed yesterday, being able to use a truly modern Quick Edit, which respects all of the formatting that you may have put on a list, along with being able to um, use capabilities that we have like filtering. So being able to quickly drill into a particular subset of records in that familiar gridded view. We have a new rule builder UI, which I'll show you here in just a second, along with being able to come up with alternating view styles. And we'll be expanding those views to native support for a tile-based view, which I've shown on the screen. Being able to create those card-formatted views to be able to represent all the information in a single pane that lives inside of the screen. So let's take a quick look at some of the list formatting capabilities here. So here I'm in the same research projects list that CHaks was just working on right now. And one of the things I wanted to show you is what I can do to be able to create some sort of formatting behind this effort in days. So if I go in here and take a look at column settings, you'll see one of the options I have to format this column. You'll see I now have something called data bars. So I can come in here and get a dialog box that will ask me what's the minimum and maximum values that I want to scale. And let's suppose I want to express everything in terms of a year, so 365 days. What do I want to show for positive and negative values? So I could say I want to change this to use green bars for this, and negative values we'll keep as red. Apply it. And without having to even harm any JSON coding whatsoever, any user is able to take and apply this kind of style formatting directly to a column. The same capability, yes, you're allowed to cheer. We have the same capability for the whole view. So if I want to come in here and format the current view, you'll see I now have something that offers list styling. So one of the things I can do is I can put alternating rows here and say if I wanted to change this, say, to a different color, I could say I want to make this fill with a blue color and save it. If I wanted to change the text or the borders of this around this, I can apply all of these capabilities there, again, without having to resort to look up any JSON scripting whatsoever. So we save this. This looks great. And now I have something that more adequately represents the way I want my user experience to be here on the list.
That was it, just a few clicks.
Yes, just a few clicks.
Awesome. So now that we have seen how powerful lists are, one of the key things that drives with the data is the business automation. So Microsoft Flow is our platform to drive that business automation, which connects to more than 200 plus services here. Anything you name it, we have connectors for that in Microsoft Flow to connect and interact with the business data. So we have integrations in SharePoint as well to launch flows, and as well as we are building out-of-the-box experiences in Flow that will help us kind of do the basic things, help users notify about something, or copy data, or even collect data, right? So you just saw in a demo that how you could collect if there was a request for an increase, what's the effort in days, and what's the reason. So you kind of go through that process easily by building flows. Now, so we have many integrations. We talked about these and showed some demos at Ignite. So personal reminders, set a reminder flow, request sign-off, a simple approval flow, content approval, so you can have actions that go and approve and reject documents if you are using the content approval system in SharePoint, and as well as page approvals, which is completely built using Flow in modern pages. And hub join approvals will be releasing soon, which we showed a demo where now when a site is getting associated with SharePoint hub site, that will go through an approval process. But if this doesn't, if this doesn't help and you have more scenarios to build, of course, you can build it using several templates we have online, or you can even start building from scratch. I think we now have 53 or 51 flow templates for SharePoint, I think. So
they don't fit on this screen anymore.
They don't fit in the screen, yeah. So if you haven't checked these out, go check out. It gives a really good way to start. We know that these are not going to probably have 90% of the scenarios filled in, but at least it'll help you get started with flows and integrating data into the business automation process. So what's new with Flow? Well, we have the Modern Approvals V2. It's being rolling out. If you are an existing tenant, it will prompt you to do some upgrade. If you're creating a new tenant, it will already come with the Modern Approvals V2. So there's an improved schema for the default start and wait for approval action that you are familiar and will be using in, let's say, page approvals or any other content approval flow. The updated schema helps you to iterate through approvers and comments pretty easily, so you can create an audit event of who approved and what. There are new actions in approval called create an approval and then wait for an approval. So create an approval kind of ensures you that I'm creating an approval in the platform. I don't want the platform to do anything, but I'm going to do something in between and then wait for an approval. So request for the effort increase exactly uses that. And then we have custom responses. So you can now add custom responses. If you don't like approve, reject, you can add yes, no, or whatnot to fit your business needs. So that also is available with the V2 of Modern Approvals. And there are some new connectors. You saw us demo using the Teams connector. So using the Teams connector, what it does is it interacts with the Flow bot in Teams so that it can provide all of the functionalities like approvals and other capabilities in Teams, which is posting an adaptive card, so that can be responded from Teams, so you don't have to have it in email. And then we have Word connector. So now you can have a Word template with all of the properties like the text block and whatnot when you build a template. And then you can fill it up using Flow to generate Word documents. It's pretty powerful. I'll show you a demo as well. And convert Word document to PDF as well. So what we are working on this year, in no particular order, we are working on some new actions. We went through the Flow Ideas Forum and looked at some of the top ideas customers have been posting there and requesting us to look into. So document management actions, check in a file, check out. So those are some pretty basic document management actions that we miss in our connector today. So we're working on that, as well as access management actions, setting item level permissions, which is kind of changed to granting access to a file and a list item. So we are working on that. Visio integration, so you can create and model Visio diagrams and then export them to Flow or vice versa. And then GCC environment. So we're heavily focused on pushing SharePoint integration to GCC environments. If you are in GCC low, moderate, you can go to Flow and PowerApps portals and do the integration with SharePoint. But we are very close to kind of having the SharePoint integration piece where you can now use page approvals, request sign-off, set a reminder in GCC low, moderate. GCC high will be coming later this year. So Visio integration, if you previously used Visio for SharePoint workflows, or if your enterprises use Visio for workflow diagrams, now you can get the same capability with the Microsoft Visio with business process model notation diagrams integrated with the Flow. So it's pretty easy. If you're in preview, I think it's Insider Channel Preview, you can get this capability and you can start building diagrams in Visio and then model it to Flow. So let's look at the demo. Let's continue where we left off with the request for increase.
Let's get you to 1.
Cool. So one of the things I want to show you quickly how that flow was built. The first demo we saw, request effort increase. So you can see I have for a selected item, I get the item, and then I use this create an approval V2 action that basically gives me the ability to start an approval, like basically not start, but create an approval, but don't do anything. Like let's not wait for an approval in the flow. The flow is just going to continue to the next step, right? And I enable notifications. I've turned off the notifications so that it doesn't send me an email, but I'm going to manage the rest of the stuff here. So then for every approver in the approvers list, I'm going to use the new action in Teams connector that says post your own adaptive card as the flow bot to a user. So I'm going to give this to a user, and then I'm using the approvers, and then adaptive card output from that create an approval action. So it's pretty easy, one step. You don't have to do anything else here. And then I use wait for an approval. Now the flow knows I should not continue to the next step. I have to wait for the response from the flow to continue to the next step. And that's it. Pretty much, I do, if it's approved, do this. If it's not, do something else. So that was the request for increase. Now let's quickly go here and run another demo. So I'm just going to refresh the page. And I'm going to say the same, barbecue drone. I'm going to now select request effort increase with custom responses. Of course, for this demo purpose, I added custom responses, but you could have some other name that fits your business requirement. So I'm going to add 5 demo requirements changed. And I'm going to run the flow. Now here, Pradeep is going to get a message from the flow bot. Very soon, there you go. It came up. Now you can see I don't have approve reject. I have yes, no, need more info. So now I can have my requirements fit into this adaptive card in this approval task to collect the information I want. And then I can say, well, I'm not going to approve this. You can always click need more info as well. I'm going to do submit, and then that's going to submit here, right? And if you're using mobile, you saw earlier, you can continue that in the mobile as well. I got an immediate response, but this time I got a response to my personal, to the user, right, who requested it. And you can see your request for effort increase was rejected. And the cards, everything is like really nice, focusing on the task in hand. How do I build this? It's really simple, using the same method that we saw earlier and how I used the create and approval. Here, I'm using the option custom responses, wait for one response, right? And I'm able to add how many ever responses I want and call them whatever I want to call and manage them in my flow. And then I'm doing the same thing. I wait for an approval, but now I have a switch statement that says, if it is yes, what am I supposed to do? If it is no, what am I supposed to do? If it's default, what am I supposed to do? So it's really, really simple. You got a few steps. You now have a very powerful business process in hand that you can now scale it to your business users. So am I showing the document generation?
Yes.
Excellent. So let's say these research projects want to have a checklist documentation created, right? So that you can have like all the checklists, everything tick the box and make sure that the project is ready. So here what I can do now is I can say, I'm going to select flexible TV, I'm going to go to flow. I get an option to say create checklist document. So once I click this, what it's going to do is, once I run the flow, it's going to take all the metadata from this list, and I have an option here to notify project channel. I'm going to take all the metadata here from this list. It's going to pick up that Word template I have set up and then replace all of the properties with the values of this list, that item that got triggered to create the checklist, and notify the Teams channel that a new project checklist was created. So let's see if I get notified in my channel. Yeah, there you go. 11:39, so that's not the one. But if you see my support project checklist documents, you can see I already have flexible TV checklist. And here you can see, and this is the property control that I was talking about, right? So if you have developer tab and you can now design your template in Word, the project name has been replaced to flexible TV, and you can see the review date, summary, effort is being pulled from the metadata of that item in the list and then populated in the Word. How cool is that?
Yep.
And if I go to my research project, you can see I have a new project checklist was created, title flexible TV, and everything. Now, this is using adaptive cards, right? So with adaptive cards, you can create very easily your own card designer and then take that code and then put it in Flow and then replace with all the dynamic values you have. So that's how you can see I create a title, owner, summary, and if I click View, it's going to open the document right away and take me to the document from Teams. So it's a very powerful scenario, and if you want to take a look at how long it took me to build this scenario, well, let's go look at the flow. It's pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. That's it. With 6 steps, you got a very powerful business process in there to go and do the things you want to do. And you can see I have a new action with the Word connector called Populate a Microsoft Word template. And there, it took all of the properties in my template document, and it gave me here, right here, to work with it. Today, we support text. It's still in preview, but support for all of the other control blocks are coming, especially table control blocks, so you can repeat rows that you can add inside your template. So more work is coming over there, but this is a great start. I think you can do awesome work with these type of processes in your organization. So that's my, some of the cool demos I had with flows.
Great. Thanks,
I hope
Chaks.
you guys enjoyed it. Yep.
So having great data is a start. And then being able to build those into automation and processes really starts to take things to the next level. But we also need to be able to craft custom experiences that usually live in the form of apps that live independently or embedded into tools like Microsoft Teams. So one of the most powerful application tools that we have right now, and it's really approachable by anyone, is Microsoft Forms. Microsoft Forms is not, despite the name, is really focused at being able to allow anyone to be able to quickly gather data inside or outside of an organization boundary. You can use it for polls, you can use it for quizzes. We capture all the data in a cloud service in the back end. You can expose it inside of Excel, or being able to wire it up into other processes, such as Microsoft Flow. It's fairly common for us, for example, to use Forms to be able to set up event registration and capture all of those results and be able to send notifications to the appropriate people using tools like Microsoft Flow. We also offer web parts to allow it to make it very easy for you to be able to expose forms inside of SharePoint, both for submitting data as well as gathering results. And most recently, we've introduced a bot framework that allows me to be able to build a form directly inside of Microsoft Teams using natural language techniques, which we'll look at in just a second here. The second way that we can start to craft application experiences is by being able to use custom forms. And custom forms are built using PowerApps, typically built on top of SharePoint lists, and coming soon, the ability to be able to do them on top of SharePoint libraries. What they give me is something that is tightly coupled to the SharePoint modern experience, living in the context of a list or a library without forcing someone to move through multiple pop-up windows. They're easy to create, easy to customize, and with the framework, really easy to integrate for really powerful scenarios. We see people bringing information in from Azure Cognitive Services, Power BI, or third-party data sources that are out there available for the framework. Click too quick. One of the best tools and techniques that we have for being able to integrate information and integrate application experiences into M365 is the PowerApps web part. If you have a Power App experience that is based on data that lives elsewhere, it could be running against SQL or running against ServiceNow or Salesforce, or a place where the data repository is hard to move, and you want to bring that experience into M365. The PowerApps web part makes it very easy for you to integrate it into any existing SharePoint page. And since SharePoint pages, as we saw before, can be extended into Teams, I can extend my app anywhere I need it to show up inside of an M365 architecture. If I have an app that was built for a mobile form factor, it's very easy for me to embed that on a page. The example I have here in the screenshot, this is a mobile Q&A submission form that we at Microsoft use with our CEO for his monthly town hall meetings. And we're able to also take that mobile app and embed it into the page that drives the meetings to be able to allow people to ask Satya Nadella questions directly. Power Apps are also tightly integratable into Teams. We have direct support for being able to add any Power App to any team as a tab inside of a channel. You can browse the applications that are available and that are published for you. And the app that I'm going to show you here in demo, just as a quick note, at Microsoft, we have a range of Power Apps that we use to surface things like budget management or employee vacation requests. Our partner Avanade built all of those, and we'll take a look at one of those here in just a moment. Wanted to thank them for their assistance in getting this demo ready today. Top of mind for us and what we're working on this year, delegation. And if you are not a developer or developer-oriented, you may not understand what this means. But for complex data types, you may have fields like choice fields or lookups or people that you want to be able to run a filter against those. You may have a very large data repository with 50,000 items, and trying to pass all of those into a Power App is impractical. But by being able to build a query, you can get that query to be delegated or executed inside of the service. And so when this ships, we'll handle all that filtering for you in the service so that you don't have to send 50,000 records down into a mobile client to figure out which ones they're interested in. Custom forms. We'll be showing you in just a minute a preview of what we'll be doing with being able to build a Power App against a document library. That's coming before the end of the year. Also, soon we'll be able to extend custom forms to guest access. So if you have guest members of your Office 365 groups, they're going to get exactly the same experience that any other native member of those Office 365 groups get when they open up a custom form. And we talked about the support for government cloud integrations for Flow. That's also obviously coming for Power Apps. We expect to have the first wave of full GCC fidelity completed this summer. Yes, thank you for our government customers as well. Let's take a look at a couple of quick pieces here on demo. The first thing I wanted to showcase for you is integration into Teams. I think this is where I want to be. Yes. So here I am inside of Microsoft Teams. And it is relatively easy for me to add a tab here. And one of the tab controls we have is for Power Apps. And so when I say I want to look for an app, it's going to show me apps that are available out there in my environment. And this app has already been built inside of my tenant, and it's been published to me. I can pick it up and say that I want to add it and connect. And it's going to take that app, it's going to make it the name of a tab, and it's going to be able to render that Power App directly inside of the Teams experience. Anyone who's using a Teams client through web, through desktop, or through mobile is going to be able to get access to this application. And they're going to get everything that they would be able to do. Here I want to submit a new budget request for field training. Let's say North America. And we're going to do 5,000, 5,000, 50,000 in our Q3 because that's when the NFL playoffs are, and I need to be able to go visit my hometown New England Patriots and do it appropriately. Proper shout out to those of you from New England. I see you in the front row there. Jeff Teeper has said, I will shamelessly find a way to work the Patriots into almost any discussion. Anyway, we'll move on from that. But you can take these kind of applications and not only be able to embed them in tablet or in mobile, but be able to bring them inside of Teams, which you think is powerful. The second integration I wanted to show you is what I can do inside of Teams with the forms, and particularly the forms bot. So here I am. You can take a look at what we've been doing here inside of the research projects environment. So Microsoft Forms provides, if you haven't seen it before, a great way for me to be able to look up and browse information here that I can say, let's find forms that are out there in my groups. I can see some things in the retail forms. I can see someone set a form up here before. But sending people to something else isn't necessarily what I always want to do. So I want to be able to set up a quick survey here inside of my environment. So what I'm going to do is say, I want to bring a new conversation. And let's say this is going to be product launch. And so we're going to @mention the forms bot. So I've already added forms as a connector into this channel. And by saying, hey, @forms, and typing matters, how should we launch the new drone? And then I put conference, virtual event, or roadshow. and click send on that. And so the Forms bot is going to process that, and it's going to generate a new card that lives here inside of this. So it'll automatically be available inside the channel for me. And I can say, how should we launch the new drone? And I like to be able to travel around, so I'm going to click Roadshow. CHaks is filling out some answers here as we go. So we can get real-time integration using Microsoft Forms technology directly into the channel to be able to engage my team and all of their members using the Forms bot. The last tool I wanted to show you is what we have available for being able to use PowerApps Forms. So for this, I want to look at a document library. And this is a fairly standard document library. We've taken advantage of some of our formatting capabilities to show you some information about quarters. But if I want to take a look at all of that metadata that's available to me here in something compact, I'm going to come here and just say I want to take a look at more of the properties. And what's coming up now, this is a custom PowerApp form which is designed against this. And we're doing more than just being able to surface custom metadata here, the product, the kickoff date, what quarter it's going to be in, but we're able to reach out to Microsoft search-based sources to show me some sample photos that I might want to be able to use with this. So I can come in here, edit the form, take advantage of saying I want to change what product it's for. This is for Drone Mini. The kickoff date, I think tomorrow might be a little bit too soon. Let's make this 6/1. And all of the rich capabilities that I get inside of PowerApps and that I've been able to use inside lists, I'm now able to use against my document libraries to be able to carve out those sort of custom experiences. So that's where we are on integration of apps across the suite, some of the new updates. I'll turn it back to you, CHaks, for a couple of other comments. Let's get to this. Got the clicker. Great. So we talked a lot about what Contoso has been able to do, but we sometimes get asked by customers, can you give us some real-world examples of how this is getting used? We have lots of them, but the one I want to spotlight today is Marks & Spencer. So Marks & Spencer uses SharePoint lists as the centerpiece of their intranet. They're a large global retailer with over 1,000 stores and multiple lines and tens of thousands of employees spread all over the place. One of the things that their research discovered is that there's a direct correlation between the revenue generated at a store efficiently and the amount of time that their middle and upper management are able to spend on the show floors. So Marks & Spencer has lots of lines. And on any given day, there are multiple sales promotions that are being launched. And from a customer perspective, they don't really care if they're in the clothing department and they say, are you still running that sale on cranberry tea bread or vice versa? They want to empower all of their staff to know what's out there and what's available. So rather than sending everyone back to a kiosk in the back to check their email, see what the promotions are, go to the intranet to browse all of this stuff, they were able to construct PowerApps to be able to completely automate this process of being able to centralize all of their home office notifications out to 985 stores to be able to keep their first-line workers empowered to solve customer challenges. So their story and dozens more are centralized in our Tech Community Resource Center. So all of our customer stories are available through the link that's available right now. You can hear about stories across retail, manufacturing, transportation, and more. And every week we're gathering more and more stories for how people are able to use our Power Platform and the rest of our tools to be able to solve business app challenges for their workers in the office and beyond. Another thing to help you launch into this world of business applications is our partners. We have a very dynamic and robust group of business application partners who are in our BizApps Partner Program. Each of these is selected for their expertise in a particular area. And to get access to the program, they have to demonstrate proven customer success that's validated by the customer in 3 or 4 separate examples. They're the bedrock of what we're able to do with this. Many of these organizations are here at the conference this week. Some of them are out on the expo floor. We'd encourage you to be able to talk to them. Microsoft stands behind them as preferred partners. And for those of you who are in the program, thank you. For those of you who are not but might be candidates, we are currently accepting applications through the end of next week. for the year to come, starting July 1st. We have information on that in the tech community as well. So we want to talk a little bit about what's kind of top of our mind for the year to come.
And I think these are the things that we hear a lot from customers, from MVPs and everybody that we interact with on, hey, what's missing in the product? What is the tough choices that you're making today? And we have taken these feedback and we're looking into those. Not that they will be available at the end of this year, but you can help us to kind of show some progress towards as we go into each of these items. Package and reuse is one of the top requested feedback. Is like, I want to move a custom form I built from this one list to another list, or you're building something on your own and then you want to make it into production. Same with flows. So we are working on that and looking at what are the different possibilities to go do that, and integrate into this the new list experience, right? So if you go create new lists from an existing list, if that list has a PowerApps and custom forms, you should be able to bring them through. So how do we do that? So we're looking into those scenarios. Site designs with native trigger. So when a site design is applied, customers want to do several things. So how can we build that natively, just like we have triggers for list and libraries in SharePoint? Custom forms, responsive layouts is coming out. It's in preview for PowerApps apps today. So if you go to that documentation, you can go through every step of how to build a responsive form through expressions. But that's not the state where we want to be in. We want to be in a state where it gives you responsive layouts by default. So we are working with PowerApps team to have that capabilities come into custom forms so that becomes responsive, whether it's mobile or in the web browser. And we have started looking more into the Flow and PowerApps ideas forums. We get a lot of feedback there, and I think they're all great feedback because they're addressing some of the pain customers go through in using PowerApps and Flow. So we're going to go take all of those feedback and see how we can actually address them and be proactive in responding to user ideas in those forums. Some of the things you see as working this year that you saw on the granular, the access management actions and document check-in, check-out, everything is coming right from the Flow Ideas forum. So we are going to go and take ownership of those items and see how far we can go in the product. So I asked Chris about this, and he said, Chaks, this is yours. Because it's happened to be the most simplest thing that we could talk to customers, right? InfoPath and SharePoint Designer roadmap. How many of you use InfoPath, SharePoint Designer? Do you guys are keen to know what's next? Yeah? So we have been thinking about this, and I think we know what's next. Well, sorry to make it tough. There is no roadmap, yes. We announced in 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016, that we would,
I wrote that.
Yeah, Chris wrote that, yes.
I had less gray hair then.
So now everybody knows who's the reason for this thing to happen. So yeah, so we don't have any updates. We're not making any investments in the product. So we have been talking about this for the past, since 2016. The 2026 is the date that we should be really thinking about. It's very near, yeah, a few years away, but thinking about the businesses invested in InfoPath and SharePoint Designer, there's a huge set of flows and workflows and forms there. So this is the time. We are making improvements. We are getting customer feedback. We are looking at what are the top pain points. How do we improve the product? Going to the cloud, there are some things that won't work, like custom activities and workflows. There are some things that you would have to reconsider. So we're going through this journey along with other portions in SharePoint as well, like classic sites to modern sites and classic list to modern libraries. So we're learning a lot, and we're trying to get those learnings and applying this work item as well to see how we can help customers move here. So if you haven't started, please do so. This is the time. Help us if you have any pain points or if you're stuck on certain solutions. Please feel free to contact us. I'm in the booth downstairs after the session, and tomorrow we can even jump on a call and look at what's going on and how we can help you unblock and get into this new platform.
Just one point in the last slide. So we really hope that we've been clear that the future direction, the future investment is all around PowerApps, Flow, and the rest of our business apps tools. We continue to support these. However, when we're no longer investing in a tool, we're trying to send a signal that you shouldn't really be building net new capabilities on top of this. There is, we had a little bit of fun with it. There is a bit of a roadmap around InfoPath and SharePoint Designer, but it relates to the retirement of those services. We think that at some point, we want to help you with some tools to help stop the bleeding. So we want to start being able to give you better capabilities to be able to switch off InfoPath and SharePoint Designer on a more granular basis to stop users from being able to create more of them that you're just going to have to migrate and mitigate in the future. Our signals in this space will be communicated months, if not years in advance, so we don't want to suggest that we're about to turn this off in Office 365 on June 1st. Yep. Nothing like that's happening. If we were to do that, he and I won't be up here on stage next year talking about it. But we do think that we're considering some capabilities like, should we start shipping net new tenants with InfoPath and SharePoint Designer turned off? You can still turn it on, but if someone's standing up a brand new environment, we want to be thoughtful about at what point do we want to start making it harder for people to create legacy capabilities that are just going to need to be mitigated at some point in the next 6 or 7 years at a minimum. So anyway, when we're thinking about all of these tools, you should be asking yourself 3 questions as you're figuring out, what is the next process that I want to optimize my organization? The first question is, where am I going to put the data? And that story about how data gets gathered for us is heavily driven through SharePoint lists. Microsoft Forms provides a bit of that tooling. And for more sophisticated scenarios, the Common Data Service for apps allows me to do entity modeling and some relational capabilities around that. The second question around process optimization is, how am I going to build automation? How am I going to streamline things that happen more than once in my tool set? Microsoft Flow and Logic Apps are the principal tools that are out there. Finally, how am I going to create, if I need to create a user experience that goes beyond the native capabilities of the platform, how am I going to do that? PowerApps and Power BI are the principal tools that we use to solve that. Those 3 questions are answered in large part by our Business Apps Resource Center, which you can access through the URL up here on the screen. It's where we bring together all of our white papers, resources, videos. There are 3 new white papers, for instance, on being able to use Power BI to build dashboards inside SharePoint and Office 365. Those will be coming on to that platform next week. These links to today's session and more, all centralized for you through Tech Community here at the resources up on the screen. So that said, it's been great being able to come out and talk to you today. Chaks, great to be able to present with you. We're going to stick around for Q&A. I think we're just about out of time here in the main room, so we'll kind of come up to the front of the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you.